Hey there and welcome back as we wrap up our tour of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So far we've replaced the statue of Zeus with Abu Simbel and the Colossus of Rhodes with the Great Stupa. This week we're looking to replace the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We're looking to replace it with something that we know still exists to this day, partially because you could see it, touch it, and walk on it. Today we're going to be heading to China to take a look at the Great Wall. The Great Wall's been around for the last couple thousand years, but it didn't really become what we know it as today until the Ming Dynasty, between 1368 and 1644 CE. Now you've probably realized the time frame that I just laid out presents a few problems. If you remember correctly, one of the rules that we set for ourselves was that it had to be contemporary with the other wonders. Well, when it comes to the Great Wall, we're actually in luck. Even though the most recognizable part of the wall is more recent, the wall actually started construction way back in the 3rd century BCE. Emperor Shi Huangdi was the first emperor to have united China under the Qin dynasty, and he ruled from 221 to 210 BCE. He was born sometime around 259 BCE in northwestern China, but he didn't start off as emperor. He actually started off as king of the state Qin. He took over the throne at the age of 13, but he wasn't able to rule, so he had a regent put in place. When Shi Huangdi became king, the state of Qin was already known as a powerful state, but there were other states all vying for power at the same time. So he quickly started to take and conquer the other states, all putting them under the one dynasty, the Qin dynasty. And by 221 BCE, he was able to conquer the last holdout, the Yin state. When he finally became emperor of all of China, he started to enact new social reforms and new policies. He had roads constructed and new canals built, but we're not interested in those. We're interested in what he did with the Great Wall. But he wasn't the first to have walls and tower fortifications constructed. Going all the way back to the 7th century BCE, the state of Chu actually constructed walls around their territory. In the following centuries, the other states started to follow Chu's example. They started to have walls constructed around their territories as well. These walls weren't always made of stone, however. The walls of the Qi state were actually made of dirt as well as stone, but the walls weren't always constructed to keep out the other. Oftentimes, they were constructed to keep out other Chinese states. This brings us to Shi Huangdi and what he did with the Great Wall. At some point, he had all the walls connected together, but before he did that, he had some of the walls torn down that were built by the warring states. While he had the walls ripped down between the states, he sent his general Meng Tian to the north to fortify their border against the nomadic enemies, the Xiongnu. While he was there, part of his job was to take and link the existing walls between the Qin, Yan, and Chao states. This new, longer, greater wall was actually called the 10,000 Li Long Wall. Li was a measurement system used by them back then, and 2 Li were about the equivalent of 1 kilometer today, making this first section of the wall around 5,000 kilometers long, out of the 21,196 kilometers the wall is today. This part of the wall started construction around 214 BCE and took nearly 10 years to complete. It took thousands of soldiers and enlisted workers just to complete this segment of the wall. After the death of Shi Huangdi in 210 BCE, his empire, which he said would last 10,000 generations mind you, only lasted for another 4 years, and this new segment of the wall fell into disrepair and was left unguarded. It wasn't until the reign of the Han Emperor Wu Di between 141 to 87 BCE that the wall started to get looked after again. During this time, he fixed up the wall and reinforced it to take and protect against the enemy, the Xiongnu. And who exactly was this enemy that they'd been fighting for generations now? The Xiongnu first showed up in Chinese records dating back to the 5th century BCE, but during the 3rd century BCE, they started to become a threat to the Chinese. At this time, they formed a tribal confederation, and they were very accomplished at horseback riding. They were able to get around 300,000 archers on horseback, and they continuously raided the border. The construction of the Lilong Wall helped tamper a lot of this, but it didn't stop their raids. The Han Dynasty took a different approach when it came to dealing with the Xiongnu. They tried marrying off their princesses, but surprise, this didn't work. They still continued to raid the border. It's uncertain who they were. There's some theories that they were the European Turks, others that they became the Huns that eventually invaded Rome. Then sometime around 121 BCE, an addition was added to the wall. This addition took 20 years to construct, and it was called the Hexi Wall, or otherwise known as the Side Wall. It stretched between Yangding, now called Gansu, and Lake Lopnir, now called Xiyang. On the wall, a beacon was set up every 2.5 kilometers, a tower was built every 5, a fort was standing every 15 kilometers, and then a castle was constructed every 50. This new fortified wall not only brought physical power to China, but it also brought trade power. The Silk Road started around this time. The Silk Road was a trade route between China and Western civilizations, where China traded silk. What did they get in return for their silk? Well, they got wool, gold, and silver. The trade route was about 6,400 kilometers long and started in Xi'an. The people that made the full trip from Greece to China would have had to traverse many obstacles, like crossing over the Pamirs, a mountain range, and heading through the Taklamakan Desert. But when they finally arrived in China, they would have actually walked alongside the Great Wall. There wouldn't have been many that would have chosen to make the trip from the Mediterranean to China. Then during the Han period, between 25 to 220 CE, the main parts of the wall started to take shape. In 38 CE, Liu Xia ordered the repair of the 4 lines that ran parallel to the Great Wall. The walls weren't only meant to defend China, but they were meant to control the trade routes as well. Over the next 1,000 years and some change, the new emperors would add on and repair the wall where they deemed necessary. All these repairs and add-ons led to what we call the Great Wall now. And why should the Great Wall replace the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? Well, for starters, we actually have physical proof and records of the Great Wall. The Hanging Gardens, not so much. And having a wall that defends your city or your town isn't really a novel concept, it's seen all over the place. But having one that defends the whole border of your country, now that is something that should have been considered a wonder. I believe the Great Wall didn't make the original list of wonders for one reason, and it's because the people that made the list of wonders weren't the same that traveled the Silk Road. If only just one of them was brave enough to have traveled from the Mediterranean all the way to China, then they probably would have put the Great Wall as one of their wonders as well. I want to thank you all for watching, and I want to thank the patrons. If you want to support the channel, head over to Patreon and help the community grow. I hope you enjoyed my list of substitute wonders. If there was a wonder that you would have liked to have seen, let me know.